Welcome everyone. This is Debbie Mayberry with National Kitchen and Bath Association, and you are here for a third session of the month on Living in Place or Universal Design. Today's session is called Universal Design Accommodating a Wide Range of Lifestyles. Wanda Godds is with us. She's CAPS, Allied ASID. She's also CLIP and CHAMP certified. She is the owner of the Golden Age Living, LLC, based out of Florida area. And I want to also just do a quick shout out to GEBERIT for generously sponsoring all of our webinars this month. And Wanda, we are ready to get started. Thank you very much. So you need to unmute your line and we're ready to get started, please.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to learning about universal design and how we can accommodate a wide range of lifestyles. I am a master trainer for the National Home Builders Association. I teach aging in place courses and universal design. So I want to share information with you about universal design today. So let's look at what we have. So the course objectives, we're going to look at the psychology of place. We're going to identify the 4 principles and their features and functions. We're going to look at the universal new goals for universal design. What is universal design? Adaptable, accessible, and visitable. And then we're going to identify the physical limitations of adults and identify some demographics and characteristics of today's population. So again, who is our client today? So who is our client today? Again, according to AARP, there's 78 million baby boomers retiring in 2025. That is just around the corner. And 50% of our population is over the age of 50 in 2017. In 2025, our population will be over the age of 65. So again, our lifestyle, the aging population is aging. Women's life expectancy is going to be about 88. Men's life expectancy might be about 82. So our society is globally aging, and the oldest countries are Japan, Italy, United States. So Japan, they live to 110. Their life expectancy is that. Italy, their life expectancy, and United States is number 17 in the range of countries that are aging. Africa is the youngest country because they are making the most babies. 20 million and counting is the estimated number of residents. I'm going to use Florida statistics because I'm basically out of Florida. But again, 20 million and counting is them. On television, we're advertising that 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. Again, people are moving here each day. Why? Because A, the COVID has impacted people moving, and so people are changing and moving. And again, we're moving to warmer climates because our bodies don't adapt to temperature changes easily, and we want to stay where we can be much more comfortable. So in terms of how many people, just so that I could give you some logistics, 285,000 people are moving in each year for next 5 years. In terms of that, it said it is the size of Orlando. So again, according to Florida Trend magazines, this equates to having to create 130,420 homes, 42 schools, 769 hospitals, 14.2 million square feet of industrial warehouse space over the next 5 years. So again, we're remodeling. Every day, 18,000 homes were constructed in 2015. It doubled in 2010. And with lot developments being slow, people are looking for reduced space, and they're looking for being able to remain in their homes as long as possible. And who in that continuum is going to be our client? The baby boomers and females. Why? Because we outlive men by a few years. So what we want to look at is, what does home represent to us? We really need to understand that as the client, who the client is, regardless of their continuum scale. We want to know what home represents to the client. So if I ask you one word, give me one word what home represents to you. If I have 5 people in that house, or I have a family of 7, or I have 5 people at the table, each person is going to give us a definition of what home represents to us. That one was basically created from our childhood. The definition of what home represents to us, by the time we're 2 years old, we have formed what home represents to us. So for our grandparents, home might represent gathering around the table. For children, home might represent security, safety, and socialization. For our grandchildren, it might represent food, comfort, and security. So each generation defines it differently. So when we're looking at households and maybe combining them, we really have to understand who each of those inhabitants are and what their perception or what their interpretation of home is. I grew up outside. I have 7 siblings. We played outside from morning to night. So my definition of home was my environment. I played in the grass. I swam in the creek. I played football. I played baseball with my brother every day. So for me, my environment always had to be around water. I had to have light, and I have to have greenery. So that is my concept of what home represents to me. And if I look through all the years of my lifestyle, I've always had to been around water. I have to have a lot of light around me, and I have to have green. So again, you want to understand what that is, because that better understands how you're going to design for the client, whether they're in a condominium, whether they're in single level home, or they're living in a tent. I mean, so again, you want to know what that looks like for the client. So what changes are basically ahead for us with this aging population? So one of the things happens is that our bodies are going to change as we age. So again, our bodies change as we age. And so does our home adapt to those changes? So does it adapt? We remodel every 7 to 10 years, and we move at least 7 times in our lifetime. The coronavirus has impacted our lives worldwide, and older adults who live in assisted living facilities or nursing homes, or those who have health issues, have been compromised. And so we see that with the statistics that are out there. Families and older adults are really rethinking their living environments and asking for changes that are going to enhance, again, critical words: ease of use, safety, security, and comfort. And this will be there. We see already an exodus from the cities to the suburbs. Yesterday's news, I just saw that 52% of the millennials between the ages of 19 and 29 have moved back home. They have moved back home with their parents. That's a huge population. Where do they live? They live in those cities. And those cities are now those apartments are becoming vacant. I was just in New York City. It used to take us 1.5 hours to get into New York City. I was able to get into New York City in 20 minutes, because people are exiting, and they're trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. So what is universal design? So again, universal design is the hallmark of inclusive design, regardless of age, ability, or size. Ron Mace in 1985 created the universal design definition, which is universal design, again, is the design of products and environments to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or specialized design. What does that really mean? Before that, I started my business in 1981, and in 1984, my friend was shot in a home invasion, and she was paralyzed from the waist down. In 1984, she could not go to the bank. She could not go to the grocery store. She could not go out for a walk. Why? Because the environment was not conducive for her to be able to, so she basically wound up becoming homebound. Again, if we're looking at, so Ron Mace created this concept of usable by all people. So the picture shows, regardless of whether I'm that baby that's just sitting on that stoop or I'm grandpa, I want to be able to do what? Adapt and be in my environment regardless of my age or my abilities. It takes the broad sense of people and it doesn't compromise everyone. However, it's going to include a lot of people. So our life expectancy is much longer today. And the child that was born in 2014 is expected to live 120 years. So one's family now might span 4 generations. My mother was able to see her children and she took care of her grandchildren, and she lived to see her great-grandchildren. So again, 4 generations where I never knew who my grandmother was because she died before I was even born. So there's a shift to multi-generational lifestyles, which is just becoming popular in the United States, because when we grow up and we get out of college, the first thing we say is, bye mom, I'm leaving home, and we leave. But now we're looking at what? Coming back to that home and being able to be inclusive in it. So in designing living environments, we will have to accommodate people of various abilities that will what? Live under one roof. And the biggest challenge, again, the biggest challenge is going to be to provide privacy for all inhabitants that are going to live under one footprint. So let's look and see how we're going to do that. So again, what are the 4 design principles? Universal design is the most fundamental one, the platform under which all the other design categories are basically modified. So universal design feature is, again, to promote ease of use, convenience, and safety. It's the umbrella for which all the other modifications are thing. Adaptable, so you're making modifications within an existing footprint. What does that really mean? It's basically used in commercial space, because we know that when you're building a warehousing complex, you're going to get basic provided water, electric, your bathroom, your clients modify. So the client comes in and they're going to modify the space interior inside that footprint, meaning I can create subwalls, I can create a kitchen, I can create a conference room. So I'm never going outside the footprint of that wall. I'm adapting that. And in the home, this might mean reinforcing walls for future use in the bathroom. It might be pairing for future plumbing, technology and wiring, and multi-purpose rooms that can be modified in the future for activities or for family accommodation. So adaptable. I'm doing something that prepares me in the future that I could make a modification with minimal costs. Accessible design, again, this design features, it's client-centered. So client-centered means that product that you're putting in is there to assist the person with their activity. So again, accessible design shares some of the universal design principles, and it addresses extreme human performance functionality, and it doesn't have any market appeal. So resident doesn't have to comply. In residential design, you don't have to comply with ADA guidelines, but you follow ICC ANSI AA 17.1 guidelines. That's what we're following in residential design, as opposed to commercial design, which has to follow ADA. So you have a little bit more flexibility. Visitable design, this is not a requirement. This is a voluntary design. It basically says that you're going to have basic access to the first level of the home, and it's barrier-free. Some counties, we did some consulting to in Sarasota, and they were considering universal design and visitability. So we went, and at the time they were looking at the codes, were they making modifications, and they were able to include in their code requirements to change to visitable, and included visitable design as a modification. And so again, it's to provide the basic level of basic access on the ground floor to anyone that's coming in with any type of assistive device. And for them, they were able to get their city to become a friendly city because they had adopted visitability guidelines, and it gave them some accommodations or gave them more funding. And again, it helps to eliminate stigmatization on a larger level. So again, ease of use, convenience, and safety is the principle that we are trying to use, are the features of universal design. And here we're showing a multi-level counter that has a workstation at the end. We're showing a pot filler, we're showing a pot, and we're showing an induction stovetop. This was created by my friend for her family. Her mother was 85 years old. She was from Brazil. All she wanted to do was make her own soup. So again, the husband is a chef. There's multi-generational that was living in this household. What did they do? They created this workstation. It has a little pot filler. It has that can be used by the cook that's cooking, or it can be used by mom. Of course, the pot is exaggerated, but again, she can take her little pots that are right underneath that counter. She can fill it with water. She's got a little drain over there, and she can make her soup, or she could warm her soup. Again, what does it provide? Again, the big feature, safety, because we've got an induction stovetop that when you touch it or you remove the pot, it immediately is cool. You've got convenience because you've got a pot filler there, and you've got safety because she doesn't have to travel far. So again, we're looking at providing those features, the features that are going to provide ease of use, safety, and convenience. What are the 7 principles of universal design? Here they are. Again, they were created by the Center of Universal Design in North Carolina, equitable in use. And we've got all these. So what are an example of equitable in use? It uses a broader perspective because it accommodates everyone, but it also accommodates people that have some mild form of a disability. For example, arthritis is a disabling disease, and we can accommodate people that have that. So equitable in use, designs useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. So what would an example that in the home, we're talking about the home, equitable. That would be a power door. That would be a 36-inch doorway. That would be a interior travel path that's 36 or 42 inches. So equitable in use, everyone can use it. It's transparent, it blends into your environment, and it can be usable by everyone. Flexible in use, the design accommodates a wide range of preferences, whether I'm right-handed or I'm left-handed. It can create a message for me, that auditory, tactile, or visual. So in public, we know that from what? The ATM machine. So when we go to an ATM machine, it's flexible, right? And it allows us to stand or sit and approach it. Again, for scissors, a pair of scissors, whether they're right-handed or left-handed, allow us to do that. Simple and intuitive, the task does the task for you. So today, we've got that technology that allows us simple and intuitive. The design is easy to understand, regardless, again, simple and intuitive. That would be an automatic faucet. That would be the light turns on. That would be Alexa. That would be your microwave that comes on. Simple and intuitive. That creates the task for you. And perceptible information. The design accommodates necessary information effectively to the user, regardless of ambient conditions or the user's sensory ability. So it has to communicate the message to you with more than one format. It has to be visual, it has to be tactile, or it has to be auditory. So what would that be in your home? So think in your home what it is, something that communicates information effectively. So if you're get up in the middle of the night, you go to your refrigerator, or you want to ding your microwave, what does it have? It has what? It has lights on it that is doing. You turn it on, and it's going to complete a task for you. But perceptible information also means in our home, we have to have what? A smoke detector, or we have to have a fire alarm. It has to communicate a message in more than one format. So I wear hearing aids in my ears, so I need to have a flashing light. So if I can't hear, I have to be able to see. If I can't see, I have to be able to hear. So again, it's either going to be a flashing light that I see, or it's going to be what? The sound of a high-pitched sound that tells me, okay, you have to get out and you have to be able to hear it. The range is so high because when they first created them, the range was not, and they didn't accommodate the hearing ranges of the general population. So they had to take the extremes, the really low and the really high. Tolerance for error. So this is forgiving. So the task is forgiving, means whether you can do it right-handed or left-handed. Today we've got the car key. You go in your car key and what happens? You take the car and you have a fob, you stick it in a hole, whether you do it right side or upside, it's going to open it in public. In the home, what would be tolerance for error? Your kitchen designers, and what? The most popular thing right now, U-shaped handle. The U-shaped handle that you're putting on the front of counters, what does that mean? I could stick my finger in, I could stick my whole hand in, I could stick my spoon in there, wooden spoon in order to open it. So it's forgiving in that task of doing that. And then the sixth principle, low physical effort, that again, perfect example. So people want to incorporate into their reality what that task is going to do for them. So again, lever handle. Why? Because what does the lever handle do? I can use my forearm, I can use my hand, I can use in order to open it. So it's forgiving. And then size and approach of use. That is going to be multi-level counters. Any place that we're doing task, we want to have what? The ability to have a choice, sitting or standing. So that would be a multi-level counter. If you go in public, you're going to go to your bank. What are you going to have? You're going to have what? At your ATM machine is at waist level, and it's going to give me choices. It's going to allow me to be able to what? See, touch, and feel. It has to give me that message in different formats. But again, approach of use, whether I'm short, I'm tall, I'm in a wheelchair, I'm in a walker, I have the ability to do that. So those are, incorporate all of those principles. And if we use that in design, we are going to be better able to accommodate the wide range of people who are living in our household, regardless of whether they're 4 years old or they're 84 years old. The goals of universal design were basically updated in 2012 by Steinfeld and Maisel. And what they wanted to incorporate was they wanted to extend it because they got to see, we need to help, we need in our environment to be able to extend and help people with what? Improving human performance, improving their health and well-being, and social participation. So those were, so that example would be products that were within the reach of the human body. So the example, I go to the park and I want to be able to sit on the swing, or I want to be able to use a thing that goes up and down. So that accommodates me. Health and wellness in public facilities, that would be staircases or in the middle of a mall. So you don't have to walk around the whole entire mall in order to go from one place to the other. So you've got staircases. So that was health and wellness within public spaces. Social participation, again, zero step pathways, walkways. So now we want walkable cities, and we see that we create a community, then we have a walkable pathways, and that have, so it's basically found in housing, public buildings, community design, and transportation. Transportation, the buses now, what happens? The bus comes down, it kneels down, so the person in that has a mobility impairment can basically get up and get in as quickly as possible. So those are the places that we get to see that. In addition to the goals that are larger. So again, body fit, these were accommodating a wide range of sizes of people's and abilities. Comfort, is it within the limitations of the person's functionality? Awareness, ensuring we've got critical use information that's easily perceived. That means that we've got visual information, we got tactile, and we have auditory. Methods of intuitive and clear and unambiguous. So when I was in Norway this year, they converted everything in their signage to universal, and it's all pictures. So regardless of whether the person can hear, speak, they were able to communicate a message. If I want to go down the stairs, I saw a picture of the stairs. So it's important. Wellness, contributing and promoting and avoiding disease and prevention and injury. So again, including exercise, including public spaces that people could go and promote and be able to have activities. So we have centers now that we can go to the park, we can go to a community center. Social integration, we want to how we treat people. Personalization, we want to give people choices. So we have a community room, they can get up and speak. We've got speakers, we've got microphones that allow them to do that. And then respecting and reinforcing the cultural values and social environments by the design project. So we want to be able to include that in our communities. That could be, I see now in our public communities, artwork that we see on the street corner. We also see designs or pictures or paintings created by different people. So that is expanding that into our community. Low physical effort is one important design feature. Again, the #1 disease that creates disabilities is arthritis, and it affects older adults as they age. So what do we want to provide? Ease of use, and we're using technology and visual and tactile cues in order to help that. So what do we have here? We talked about a lever handle. We talked about a U-shaped handle. We talked about we didn't talk about a faucet, but we also have a faucet. Technology has really advanced today. So we just had knobs that you turned on the water. Then we had lever handles. Now we have touch. We have Bluetooth. Well, that's been elevated to another level because now I could tell that faucet, I can speak to that faucet, and I can tell the faucet, give me 8 ounces of water or fill the pot. Now we have that enhanced. We have Alexa that helps us with technology. So again, we have choices in doing that and creating that ability for us to better function in our environment. Adaptable design. So what does adaptable design do? So this one was Ron Wickman is an architect out of Canada and a friend of mine. So his father was disabled in a wheelchair. And so he modified the bathroom in his home so that it could also accommodate his dad. But here, again, you've got multi-level counters. You adapt it within the existing footprint. The walls reinforced so that in the future you could put grab bars, and you have choices to make those modifications as the client ages over time. Now, an adaptable design externally. So people retire at the age of 60. We used to retire, play golf, and drink martinis. Now we're creating new lifestyles. We want to take up a hobby. We want to maybe my friend he's an attorney and he loves woodworking. So now he can create in his garage, modify his garage, existing footprint, and he can create himself a workshop so that he can work and have fun and adapt that. So we're adapting. So in Florida, we have lanais, or people have Florida rooms. Those rooms are also being adaptable so that you can think. People now want big thing, outdoor space. So outdoor spaces are really important, and that's what people really want to see and to basically have. So what is the difference between universal design and accessible design? So universal design means it blends into the environment, it's usable by everyone, and it has market appeal. So I'm going to use a bathtub as an example. So here we have a rising wall tub. It's universal because what? It blends into the environment, it can be used by everyone, and it is marketable because if I'm selling the home, I could probably include that. Those products are pretty hefty in price, and you want to be able to make sure that that product, so it's usable by everyone, even the person that maybe has a disability. The wall comes down, you slide over, you get in, and you have the ability to be able to take a bath. Needs specific, so this is a walk-in tub. People with diabetes or people that need circulation, this is more conducive because it's deeper, so it allows them to sit in a sitting position and allows the water to circulate. Needs specific, is it marketable? Probably not, unless the client has that specific need. I really see, since the population is aging and people are shifting, great to get in contact with realtors that have a CAPS designation or CLIP designation, that they understand what the needs of a client is, because if the client needs that in the future, they probably can find a house that probably has that in for them. So if you know that, then it's much easier to accommodate the client's needs as they are looking for, right, but need specific. Here is accessible. So here is client-centered. This basically means that product is basically for that client. So here's a chair lift. The chair lift is for Miss Susie because she can't go up and down the stairs. So the chair is accommodating to her. She uses it. Everyone else walks up and down the stairs, but for her, she's using it. Again, client-centered, need-specific. It's to deal with the human performance function of the person. So she needs that chair in order to get up and down. Now, she probably can have somebody assisting her. Again, as the population is aging, people are going to be looking for that. Maybe grandma's moving in with you. And so maybe the realtor can find a home that has one. They used to throw these in the dumpster or in the trash. Now they have them as an aftermarket product. So they have them as an aftermarket product, and it's great to see to do that. I had a client that was the mother had broken both her wrists, and she was having major surgery in her legs, and she would, in her feet, and she would require that she had to use a walker for the rest of her life. So when they were designing, the OT basically said she could not use the tub that she was in there. She had to find, and the mother had pain in her body, so she wanted a soaking tub. She really insisted on that. So we were helping, so we helped to find her a soaking tub. So I found a soaking tub for her that would accommodate her and her ability to be able to get into it safely. So we're looking, and we found that as an aftermarket product because a brand new one was out of their price range. So again, you want to look at need-specific clients and how are you going to accommodate them, and how are you going to basically help them as they are trying to move or navigate around their home. And that could be because grandma's moving in with you and she needs that. So again, how do we find that? Barrier free. So again, this is the kitchen of my friend where the mother, so the husband was a chef, the wife was an interior designer, mom's 85 years old, and they entertain a lot. They bring their family every weekend. She'd have 10 or 15 people in her house. So she modified her home to be able to a kitchen to accommodate that. So what did she do? So what principles do we have in this kitchen that we see? So we've got the first thing, travel path. So around getting able, so whether mom was walking in her walker or the husband was bringing in groceries, you have a travel path. Again, a minimum of at least 36 or 42 to 46, depending on the size of the kitchen. You have U-shaped handles so that you can easily open the drawer. You have touch drawers so the drawers open. Multi-level under-the-counter refrigerator. Color contrast, a multi-level counter so mom could sit and talk while the daughter was or the son-in-law was cooking, or friends come over and they can talk to you while you're doing that at the same time. Color contrast, they chose cork floors because all of them had knee issues. So again, we wanted to be able to provide the ability to be comfortably stand on that. If we fall, at least we wouldn't break all of our bones. Again, lighting, we have what? direct light, indirect light, task light, and wayfinding. So wayfinding was underneath this island. There was a night light so that if mom walked in the kitchen, she would be able to see where she was navigating and walking. Again, we want to make sure that size and approach of use, multi-level counters accommodated everyone. Grandma, the cook, the chef, and anyone who came. This was a raised dishwasher on the right-hand side. We had a raised dishwasher. On the end where it says welcome, that was a place where all the small appliances for feeding breakfast. This was a table here, so the small appliances were there. Mom had a Bluetooth faucet there, so that faucet was Bluetooth. Mom could just wave her hand and the water would automatically turn on. What do people want today? Again, we got COVID. The big thing is germs. We're not washing or cleaning 5,000 times. We want stuff that is going to be what? Touch free. So again, we've got those features. We can even tell Alexa to turn the water on for us and be able to provide us what we want. Approach of use. So again, my friend Ron Wickman, a multi-level counter. So here he created a multi-level counter. When dad came over, he wanted to cook with his grandchildren. He was able to basically do that. Wide open space. It gives you the ability to transition, accommodates a wide range of people, regardless of who's there, whether the grandchildren were there, whether mom and dad were there, whether everyone or guests came to visit. They could sit when dad was in the wheelchair and basically communicate with him. Visitability. So this is a new word. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but again, it's a voluntary, a guideline that was basically adopted, but it comes out of ANSI AA17, section 1005. But visitability is the ability to make a home barrier free so that every guest visiting can feel safe, secure, and move around independently. And it again is a voluntary guideline. It was created for housings built by state funds and designed to eliminate stigmatization. It allows for people to continue and to socialize. It's a voluntary guideline in residential designs in most states. So if it's a guideline, it would have to be adopted, but it's a good line to basically follow, even if it's not adopted. So what are the criteria for visitability guidelines? There are basically 5 criteria. The first one, at least one step-free entrance into the home. At least one. You have an exterior door that's a minimum of 36, interior doors a minimum of 32, preferably larger depending on the size of the home or a travel travel path, whether we're going down the corridor, whether we're using furniture to create our wayfinding or our travel path, minimum should be 36, preferably 42, but that's the minimum requirement. Electrical outlets at 48 inches above the finished floor, and that would be the switches, and your outlets at 18 to 24 thing, because again, why? Person in a wheelchair or coming in, they can only reach as far as their arm goes up, they can only reach down as far as their arm reaches down. Again, and a full bathroom on the ground floor that again has the ability for a toilet, a vanity, and possibly a shower in the future. So those are the minimum requirements for visitability. Again, to me, it's the back door to be able to provide modifications for people as they age and people want to remain in their home. Again, that will do it for someone else. Oh, so who is going to come and visit you? Is grandma visiting you or dad visiting you or your grandchildren? So we want to accommodate because we don't want to live in isolation. We want to accommodate those people as much as possible. So by doing visitability, it complies with accessibility because it's all those guidelines, but it's universal because everyone can basically use it. So that's really, really a great way in which you can get in the door to make modifications without getting a lot of static of questions of why should do it, and we're not old enough, or why do we need to do it now? Depth perception, again, becomes a great issue as we age. So demarcation provides cues for transition, risers, smooth surfaces, and it prevents what tripping hazards if we provide borders around. So again, we've got a stairs, so we need color contrast. That was in our condo project, and we were doing it, and we told the unit owners to not go up the stairs. Well, the riser did not have contrast in them because the contractor was still doing it. People had depth perception issues because they couldn't tell the difference where something starts and something finishes. So again, you need color contrast because that's critical in design. And again, on the stairs, we fall down the stairs. So what do we want to have? We want to have color contrast. Color contrast, this is an activity room in a community center. Again, color contrast on the tables where something starts and something finishes. Floors, we want to have what? Smooth floors, because again, what does that provide? Ease of use and safety. And demarcation, because it tells us what our boundaries are and limitations with our eye. This is a corridor. Going down the corridor in this public facility, again, whether it's your corridor in your home or it's a hallway in a public place, you want to have color contrast. Color contrast between the floor, the wall, and the doors, so that what you can see, and you've got demarcation that gives us our visual cue and our tactile cue that something is coming up, and it's going to basically happen for us. So again, falls are the #1 reasons why people go to the hospital. So this is why we want to have what? Smooth floors. As winter is approaching in colder climates, you want to maybe put in heat inside the floors and have a heated floor. We don't really need that in the South, but we, as we're creating wet rooms, we're taking away doors, but we have to do what? We have to, so if you have a door, the door allows for you to keep moisture in and keep you warm. If you're doing away from that door, you're going to be cold. So you're looking at how you're going to keep that room warm. You might want to put in heated floor, or you want to put in heat lamps that will help you in that process. Within reach, so reaching versus lifting, again, where do we want everything? We want it where? Below the waist. We want it down for reaching because as a principle, we want it below the waist. So we now have everything that's available that walks, talks, and chews gum regardless. It can be motion activated. It could be pull out shelves. It could be touch. So we have all of those features out there. And every day you see brand new products that are coming out. So the heavier objects are under the counter. They provide ease of use, safety, and convenience. And pulling out drawers in the pantry provide an easier way to view the products that are in the pantry. If you have limited space, lighting, critical. Lighting is equal to safety. If we improve lighting, we immediately improve safety. So I can spend another whole seminar just on lighting, but lighting must be accommodate natural light, direct light, indirect light, task light. Those are all the wins. And we want to use blue light because as we age, as we grow older, our eyes are aging, and so our eyes turn yellow. So we really want to use blue light, which enhances the ability to compensate for the aging eye that is basically turning yellow. So as we age, unfortunately, our eyes turn yellow. Technology, so this is another whole seminar that would probably be an entire day. But again, among the millennials, smart technology is a feature that improves home health, safety, and connection with family. There's a number of devices that help them. So everything can be connected to your house. I'm not going to go into details. Example, you have wireless Wi-Fi, you have video, you have modifications. So all these things can be connected. It's only as good as the person that's using that technology. Women, what do women want? The #1 feature that women want is security. So what's the difference between security and safety? Security is what? The protection from criminality. So we want to be safe when we're going into our home. Safety is the prevention of falling. So safety is using to make sure we don't fall. So we're creating a safe environment from protection from falling. Security, again, on the outside of the home is protection from criminality. So here's a whole house security system that does what uses technology. You can be programmed from your house. It could be programmed by somebody monitoring you. It could be programmed by a family. It could be programmed by a third party. I have Ring phone, so when someone comes to my home, I'm always traveling. I gave it to my neighbors. My neighbor can see who's at my door, or I can see that remotely and they can communicate. My son says, Mom, when you get to the house, let me know and I'll open the garage for you. So we've got that technology that helps us to enhance those features. Communication, again, these are products that are out there that help us communicate with our family and friends. There's a whole bunch of applications. We can have our phone. Our phone will be able to have all of those applications that can do that, a way of communication that provides security, safety, and again, ease of use. Grand Care, this happens to be, again, another type of system that helps communicate everything that you want to do in one-stop shopping. There's probably 25 other products out there that basically do the same thing, and then are basically going to provide you those same types of features that are out there. Again, today, everything is changing every single day, at every single moment, so you need to keep up with those products and services. Again, it's only as good as the products that people want. What do people want? So when we're looking at those products of what people want, again, people want security, they want safety, they want to feel ease of use, they want comfortable. Your job is to find out those products and then know what the person's value system is and be able to communicate that to them so that they can incorporate it into their environment. Today, medical, again, medical reminders, we've got everything. I take my vitamins, again, I put them in little boxes, and hopefully I remember that I need to take my vitamins. But again, we can have technology that helps us. We can have dispensers, we can have voice activated, we can have someone send us an email. So there's all ways in which we can get that information that, again, provides us with independence, it provides us with a sense of security, and it allows us to be able to incorporate all of that information into our environment. I want to, I know that we have Q&A, so I want to make sure that I give you enough time to answer those kinds of questions. I want to thank you for participating. I teach universal design, so if you're interested, you could just go to my website and you could look at the calendar to see if there's classes available, or you can take it any other place. But if you understand the fundamental universal design principles that I just went over very fast for you, then you will be able to incorporate it into the features of what you're doing in your design projects. So I know that there's probably people that are asking questions. My contact information is here. I want to thank GEBERIT for allowing this presentation to occur. So I will take any questions that you give me.
Well, thank you so much, Wanda. This has been so very interesting, and you did go through a lot of material.
Yes, I covered a lot of bases very fast.
Yes,
So hopefully you could go back and listen to it and be able to hopefully capture some of that information back.
okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to just start right in with the questions.
Sure.
So with the universal design discussions that have been going on for years, and as the population is aging, someone is asking this question. New home builders in general are still not building homes with visitability in mind, including 55 plus communities. Are you finding this to be the case right now, Wanda?
Yes, and the reason that they're not doing that, well, because I'm just teaching a class today and we're talking about step-free showers. The reason that they don't do that is because code requirement, and for example, in the community, you have to follow local code. In St. Lucie County, they are building 55 plus communities and they have thresholds in the shower. And I said, why? The builder says, because code says that we have to have a threshold. If we want to put a step-free shower, we have to apply for a variance. And that costs money. And if they're building 1,000 homes, they're not going to spend the money on putting in that variance. So the reason is because code requires that they do that. So again, you have to look. So again, in counties like in Sarasota, they adopted it. So the county would have to adopt that variance to allow that choice of putting in a threshold or a step-free shower. So that is a big problem. The other one is education. They want to make money. So they're going to give you the existing footprint that they have. And I've gone to look at those houses. And I even went to the villages where they're building another entire city and the same thing, because they're going to give you the basic footprint. That's what makes money for them. That's what they came up. And unless the consumer is educated about that, they don't even aware. They're not even aware of what they should be looking for in the home. And that is a big problem. And so I say educate the consumer, and grassroots. If the consumer is educated, then they're going to ask for them as they go out. And that's what I tell, do your homework.
That's very good information. Someone was asking just real quick, what does CHAMP stand for?
Oh, Certified Home Assessment Modification Professional. This group basically deals with insurance companies. So those people that deal with automobile accidents and insurance companies, the insurance company is basically the client, and their job is to get the client back to the condition that they were before they had their injury. So this particular organization deals with those design considerations and dealing with the insurance company. It's complicated, but you're dealing with usually the traumatic injury client, either, spinal cord injuries or what, but it usually is dealing with accidents. You're dealing with insurance companies. So that organization basically focuses on creating relationships with them.
Sounds like a very specific type of
It is.
certification.
It is a very specific certification.
So now we're going to go back through some of these other things that you were showing earlier. And someone asked, what is the white small drain by the cooktop and the custom sink? That was early on in your presentation.
Oh, that was a little drain. That little white, that was a little trough drain there. So it was a little trough drain. He used it. That was his. So for the husband, that was his prep station. That was his prep station. You were asking what was on that counter. That was his prep station, and that little device, I'm thinking it was, oh, that was his drain. Yeah, I've got a picture. So that was a small drain, and he's only, so they put the spoon on a, just on something to hold the spoon up to show you, but that's a drain, a small drain. That's Nick on that prep station.
Okay, and I think it might have been one of those pictures there too, where you were showing the pot filler. And,
yes.
And someone just was commenting, they said that no one really ever mentions the fact that the pot, when you're done cooking, is probably still hot, and how, they're wondering like how to get around it, because
well, this is an exaggeration because mom would never cook out of that pot, but the pot filler would basically stay there, and you wouldn't be, mom's pots that were underneath that are small, so she could drain it right into that little drain there if she needed to. So either the pot cools and somebody else drains it, but the pot filler's purpose is to fill the pot and transition only one time. But if it's an issue of lifting, then you would leave the pot there till the water cooled, and probably somebody else would probably transition. But it's universal because, again, it provides ease of use at the point. Basically, for the chef out there, when he's cooking something, he's using that pot on that big pot on that stove. Again, it provides the ability to be able to reduce the amount of time that you're performing those tasks. And it depends on the person that's basically using it.
Good answer. So with the move to tiny homes, this person says they worry because they see universal design requiring more space to move around in the home. Is there a way to incorporate the two, like the tiny home and universal design?
That's a good question. In the tiny home, I see tiny homes. And a person with a mobility impairment, I don't know if they could live in a tiny home, but you have to have at least the minimum travel. You have to have at least 32-inch door. You have to have a minimum of a 36-inch travel path. In the bathroom, you might have to put what? You might have to put a wall, wall hung toilet. You might have to put a wall hung vanity to increase the footprint when that person has to go in there. I don't know if a person with a disability could live in a tiny home. You would really have to look at the dimensions of that home. My son lives in New Jersey and has a shed in the back of the home. And I told him, son, I would never live with you because you're a pain in the butt. But I see that little shed out there. I'm going to convert it to my little house. So I'm going to put the little house out there, and all I'm going to do is put a little telephone cable that's going to go to your house, and I'm going to send you messages. So yes, you could accommodate it, but just again, it depends on the person that's doing it. And if you're looking at the future, again, if your client's advising if they're going to buy a tiny home, you want to look at, do they have any disabilities? Do they have any health issues? Are there any kinds of things that affect genetically for them in the future? My best friend just yesterday had knee replacement. Her mother had rheumatoid arthritis, and guess what? She inherited rheumatoid arthritis. Her mother had it in her spine, and she's got it in her spine. So you really have to look at what the client is doing, and what the problem is. We're living longer, and we're also living with diseases longer. We have up to 3 issues. So I'm 70 years old. I have inherited from my father hearing loss. All my siblings and I have hearing loss. I wear glasses. So as we turn 40, our eyes go, we don't want to see anymore. So that's a clue that we're in the aging population, which starts at the age of 40. And again, I fell in my sister's bathroom and I broke my right hand. And now I see that I have a little arthritis in my hand. So we have these disabilities naturally, and so we're going to have to cope with them. You're going to have to figure out how to design. I always ask, where are you going to be 10 years from now? That's what I ask the client. Where are you going to be 10 years from now? And how are you going to accommodate for that?
That's really good advice, Wanda. So I'm just going to try to keep going through the questions. So,
Sure.
as a lot of people are wondering, is there a difference between universal design or living in place? Or are they pretty much the same?
Universal, well, I have both certifications. I think that CAPS designation, it focuses more on the construction part, so we get into more details. So I think that you need to know what the activities of people for applying it into their living environment, but you also need to know how to design those. So it more goes into the design. I recommend both because it depends on what you're doing. If you're only consulting and you want to assess people, you might want to just focus on one. But if you want to go into the design where you're actually designing and you have to know about the bathrooms, the measurements, and all of that kind of stuff, that is more in depth. So it just depends on what people's preferences are. The more that we know, I think the more educated we are. So it depends on people's preferences. But I find the more I know, the better educated I am and the better I can serve my client base.
That's great. So someone was asking at one point, you talked about aftermarket products being a little less expensive. So they were asking, well, what exactly does the aftermarket product mean? Does it mean it's used? Is it repurposed? What is that?
I would say it's repurposed. Those chair lifts that you see, that I saw in the picture, those chair lifts, they would take those chair lifts to the dumpster. The manufacturers now have a store that when they remove from people's homes, the chair lift, they can take them them to the store and repurpose them. So the chairlift is what's expensive because the technology is there. The reinforcement in the wall, that's what's putting in there. So the products are there. The other one was the walk-in tubs. The walk-in tubs, that lady that needed it, those tubs are they're $40,000, $45,000. We were able to get her a walk-in tub for $17,000 repurposed. So people, instead of putting them in the trash, they are either the manufacturer is putting in it or the contractor helps to find a place where they can be recycled or repurposed. And that's really good because they still work. You just would have to do modifications to it. So I think that's a great way to help people that maybe in lower incomes or don't have that. They didn't have the money for $45,000 to buy that, but they had the $17,000 to buy it used. Used meaning that you're taking it out because they were taking, somebody took it out because they were redesigning the bathroom and they no longer needed it. So instead of taking it in a trash, the contractor found a home to repurpose it. I don't remember where, but it's usually through the usually the product. So, you know, whatever the product's name is or whoever the manufacturer of the product is, I would contact them to see if they're repurposing them and are they available an aftermarket product as a used product, because most of them are. I mean, they were in good condition and they fill up the dumpsters and the garbage fills.
That's great information, Wanda. It really is. So we were early on, or a little bit early on, we were talking about those cork floors. And someone
Yes.
was wondering, how do they wear over time, and do they hold up in wet areas?
Yes, that matter of fact, that cork floor, it has a 25-year shelf life. It's very good. So they had a giant fish tank the first day. He was, after they put the floor in, he had to empty the fish tank and put it back in. First day, he flooded the kitchen because he forgot to shut off the water. And he flooded the whole entire kitchen. It held up to the water. They're guaranteed for 25 years and they're very comfortable and they don't wear out. I mean, you know, if you're going to have your little, you know, if you're going to stick a pitchfork in it, that might be a different story. But I've been there many times. That probably around, now that kitchen's probably like 6-7 years old already. The floor looks perfect. It washes, it cleans. And I have bamboo floors in my house. They're sustainable. So cork is a sustainable product. You can get it in planks. You can get it in squares. You can get it in sheets. So now you have that versatility. I like the cork floor because when I go there, her floor is much more cushioned. They all had knee problems and you want what? You want comfortable. So that allowed them to be much more comfortable in the house. And if you fall, you're not going to break your bones as badly as you do when you fall on any other type of hard surface.
That's really good information too, Wanda. Just a couple more questions and then I think we'll wrap for the day. So if an elderly person has cataract surgery, will they still have issues with seeing in yellow?
No, the only eye disease that is savable is cataracts. So when they have our eyes turn yellow starting at the age of 40, and everyone sees color a different way. I do a whole seminar just on eye diseases and color. However, our eyes turn yellow. When you do cataract surgery, they're removing your lens and they're putting in a new lens. You get 20/20 vision, and that's the only one that you can see perfectly and you do not see yellow. So but you have to be basically blind before they allow you to do cataract surgery. My sister, cataracts are a normal part of the aging process. So my sister, who's 4 years younger than I, she just had cataract surgery and she got her eyes replaced and she's got 20/20 vision. So yes, that's the only one. All the other eye diseases are major problems.
Okay, good to know. And then I think I have one more question and then I know you need to get going. So where did you say you got the guidelines to follow rather than the ADA? Was it the NKBA guidelines or somewhere else?
No, ANSI, AA17, the guidelines for designing for accessibility.
Yeah, ADA, right.
No, in the home, you're following ANSI A117. It's
Okay.
ANSI AA17 is the guideline. That's what you're doing for residential. It is put out. So the book is called ICC and A117.1 2017. It's the standard for accessible and usable buildings and facilities, and it's published by the International Code Council. They have a 1-800 number. It's 1-888-422-7233. And
Wow.
you can buy it as a book, or you can also download it as an app.
Wow, that's great information, Wanda. I really appreciate that. It's good to know. So, and of course, we do have NKB guidelines, but those are very different from what Wanda was just talking about. So, I want to thank you, Wanda, so very much, and thank GEBERIT for generously sponsoring our webinars this month, and for all of your time and expertise, Wanda. This has been so very interesting, and people have been putting comments in here about what a great presentation. And of course, the recording will be coming to all of you out there in the audience. And again, Wanda, thank you so very much for your time and expertise.
Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to share that information. Anybody wants any information, you've got my email address, wegcaps@att.net, or you can look at my website for any other information. Thank you, and I have to go back to teaching my class. Have a great day, and it's been an honor and privilege to serve you.
Thanks, Wanda. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.